Welcome to Seymour from the Front Pew podcast, coming to you from the broadcast studio at Seymour First Baptist Church in Seymour, Tennessee, and featuring thoughts and discussions around loving God, loving others, making disciples, and living the life. I am your host, Tiger Brooks, and now, on to the podcast. All right, this is that time where we step away from weightier issues to discuss just some lighthearted banter, humorous. What is it? Are you too loud?
No, you're too loud.
I can turn your ears down.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
He's just going to tell me to get off the stage.
Hey, Jason. Do you know the difference between wallpaper and toilet paper?
No.
That's disgusting, man. You really need to learn the difference between those two things.
Oh, my.
I've been holding on to that one for 2 months.
That's a good one, yep. Been waiting for that one.
That is funny.
He's been holding on to that one since India.
But long before.
He didn't hold on to a whole lot in India.
I knew very much the difference between wallpaper and toilet paper. I became very acquainted with one-ply toilet paper while I was there.
Oh, my goodness. Whew. So today, we're going to this is going to have a theme of the top five. We're going to have the top five in various categories.
We probably shouldn't tell them because we're probably only going to get to the first one.
This is true. Yeah.
It could be a whole series.
We'll see how many of the categories that we can get to, and we may have to spill over into another podcast at some point. So this is an idea that came from our illustrious worship and missions pastor. Top five meals all time. So not to be confused with top five restaurants, because that's another segment. But this is, I am assuming, not only taking into consideration the quality of the food, but also it's an experience. There was an experience of a meal had. Right. And so that's what I took into consideration as I made my list for that.
Yeah.
So we're going to assume that you are ready for this category.
Oh, I was going to make notes while y'all were talking, but I
haven't ranked mine very easily.
Do we want to go like 5 all the way around, 4 all the way around?
Yeah,
3?
let's do that.
All right.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. That way you'll get to think about it longer. I'll start out with this one because he's sweating over there because he didn't get his list made.
I don't even have 5. I'm trying to
Of the things I'm passionate about in life.
I've got 5, but
this is pretty high on the list.
4 and 5 are a little bit more.
Food is pretty high.
They're a little bit more like generic.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. So I thought about this, for 15 or 20 minutes earlier, and my number 5 is maybe coming out of left field, but there's a reason. My top 5, my fifth favorite greatest meal of all time. It was a couple of years ago, and I guess it was a couple of years ago now, but I'm not going to mention the family's name, members of the church, because I don't want to embarrass them, whatever. I didn't get their permission to talk about them. But they invited Paige and myself to a meal at Foothills Milling Company. You all probably understand this. Mm-hmm. And okay, Foothills Milling is going to come up on another list. But the meal was a top fiver for me because it was literally, as I think back across my entire church experience, I can honestly, I don't know that I could fill one hand with the times that a family just asked us to go out to eat. Not that we were all going out to eat and somebody picked up your tab. I mean, that's happened, and I'm appreciative of all those things. But this was a call you up. Hey, we want to spend time with you. We want to take you to this place. It's first time we had been to that place, and we just want to love on you and Paige and appreciate you. And it was very meaningful, and the meal was unbelievable. Yeah. It was the first time we'd eaten there.
Steak and potatoes.
Steak
and potatoes.
Absolutely. It is strong. And
I think we've all been there, and that steak is
It is unbelievable.
Incredible.
And so for me, that made the my fifth favorite because just what it meant to me, the experience of going there and just the love that was expressed through that simple meal. So
All right, mine's going to be more generic.
Yeah.
And prior to 4 years ago, this would not have made my top 5 list. But since moving to East Tennessee, my fifth favorite right now is just going to be West Tennessee barbecue because you can't get anything here that is near it. I can go to
Agreed.
8 gas stations in West Tennessee and get what is significantly better barbecue and sauce and and when I say barbecue, I'm really meaning like smoked pulled pork. So in West Tennessee, the difference is, all right, so is that going to be a shoulder or is that going to be like a Boston butt? And different places they're going to have their favorite. But it's all better than what we get here. I don't mean it's anyway. It is so different. And most of the sauces that I like over that direction are very thin and peppery, and like if you want hot, you just put more on. And so anyway, I mean,
Fair enough.
Anyway, it's just you can't your choice is vinegar slaw or mayo slaw on the sandwich. That's anyway, but. Yeah. Anyway, that's my 5.
All right, I'm very passionate about this, and I should have spent a couple of weeks preparing. But so here's number
Instead,
5.
you spent the last
Couple
45
minutes.
seconds.
And I feel like I need to be one of those speeches where you're like, if I forgot you, I'm sorry. I'm sure that if my wife had helped me with this list, it'd be a lot better. But anyway, number 5 would be when I was in college, I spent a summer in France and backpacking across Europe. And one night we went, it was in the south of France, really close to Italy, and all the Italians lived on one side. It's Grenoble, where the Olympics were in the 80s, I think. But anyway, on one side there's a river, and then there's the mountain up, and at the base of the mountain is Italian village right along the river. And so we went and had a meal outside at sunset. I'd never had gnocchi before, so I had gnocchi alla vodka, and just on the side of a mountain with real Italians making it next to a river. It was a core memory. It was. I don't even remember if the food was that good. But that was an experience.
Yeah. Sure, that's awesome.
It was cool.
All right, tell us about Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, I was gonna say Taco Bell over here.
So you didn't say restaurants.
No. Most of mine are not.
Meals on this.
Most of mine are not.
So 2 of mine in this list, and I'm still writing them out, but 2 of mine are actually on mission trips. And I'm going to say this one I'm going to start off with is in Antigua. We went to Antigua, and I still remember it was very good.
He's thinking of the cheesecake he got the first time we went to Antigua. That he was laying in the airport.
Oh, man, no, that's Guatemala. That's a different meal. No, we went to Antigua, and number one, this is going to sound like it wasn't good, but it was actually a very good meal. But then it's also the experience side of it that does it for me. That, I remember we sat down for dinner, and it's always cool when especially in certain circumstances and on mission trips, of how they provide food for you and the way they prepare it. And it's those sometimes are just the most memorable experiences. But they come in, they sit this food down, and the meat, you had the fixings and that was all good. The meat was whoa, what is that? And not sure what that looks like. You're always hesitant when you're in a foreign country about eating certain things. At least I am. Austin is not hesitant at all.
Goat brain.
So this is what was crazy is that set it down, and there had been a goat outside of our living facility the whole week. And I had noticed that I didn't see the goat that morning and didn't think anything about it. And I asked the person where I'd already eaten it. It was very good. I was like, oh, this is great. And I said, she said, what is this? She said, well, did you see the goat outside? No. There it is. It's on the table now. It went from the front yard to the table on that day. And I was like, okay, keep digging in because it tastes great. So who cares? So that's probably my 5th one.
They also they made a sacrifice for that meal.
Yeah.
For
that was not dry aged.
Right.
No, it was very saucy. And that's the crazy part. It was green which again is always hesitant. But when I'm in a foreign country, I'm gonna try, and they put it out for you, and they, like I said, they sacrifice something, and I didn't know they sacrificed in that moment. I thought it was gonna be chicken, but I was like, hey, this is great.
Yeah.
That's very memorable.
My first goat tied to a fence meal was in South Sudan in 2006. I've had one of those. So my number 4 is also missions related. It was the very first international mission trip that I had ever gone on up to that point. It's 1994, before Paige and I were even married. We were dating, but we several of us I was serving Calvary. No, I wasn't. I wasn't even in ministry yet. I was a deacon. I was a deacon at Calvary Baptist Church, and so we went to Brazil. We flew into Belo Horizonte, and we went to this little village called Pitangui. And I can't even remember at what point in the week that this happened, but we went to a Brazilian churrascaria, and that's where they all kinds of meats. They grill it and around this big fire.
Yeah, one of those was on my list. I just scratched it out for something else. Sorry.
But that was my first experience at something like that, and to be in Brazil. By the way, they won the World Cup while we were there.
That's fun.
And the place just went nuts.
That's cool.
Anyway, so we were in Brazil at one of these places that's native to Brazil, and they came around lots of meats that you're not going to get in the United States. We had gizzard, and we had parts of chickens and pigs and cows that no human probably should be eating, but that was offered to us. But it was really good. But just it's the experience of being here with people that you love, and you're on mission with them already, so you're in that vein. And so that was really neat. That was my number 4.
Yeah, so I'm going to actually continue that trend a little bit and do my number 4 is what I would call it was our team vision meals in Honduras. So this would go back to whenever I was at Maplewood, really. But usually second to last night, something like that, we would do what was kind of like a tradition. It was a traditional Honduras meal, but it wasn't the normal Honduras meal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was the special, nice traditional. Because traditional would typically just be beans, tortillas, eggs, stuff like right. Yeah. So this was kind of meat tray, and it's served with it's in a tray with coals underneath it that's keeping it warm, and it's got steak and chicken and sausage and just all of those types of things, roasted corn and just all of those types of things. And again, I think we carried something like 16 or 17 teams to Honduras while we were there. And so I'm not picturing one of those, but the reality of what those meals were like. And really just it's that chance where you're debriefing an impactful week over a nice meal, and it was kind of the tradition of doing that with teams and all those types of things. And I think just a really impactful time that's over. So it is that. Yeah. Like I can even think of it in one or two restaurants, but also like on our mission site in where we did that. And so anyway, that would be my number 4, I think, right now. So anyway.
What are you laughing at me for?
That's such a tiny pin.
It's my pocket pin.
All right. I'd like to take a moment in an aside, since we're doing so well on time. As y'all are all talking about mission trip meals, I'm having a hard time over here right now because I'm 3 weeks back from India, and I would say the first 3 meals I had in India were, they might be near this list, but then it turned.
Everything literally turned sour.
You're talking about other parts of the country and everything, but I cannot. I keep kind of gagging a little bit. Anyway.
And it turned when he was trying to do something like normal and safe.
No, I was trying to be safe, and anyway. Oh, that was a rough.
Everybody knows you don't eat the lettuce.
I didn't even think about it having lettuce. It was Greg did it too. Gosh, that was unpleasant.
Won't do it next time.
Anyway, okay, my 4th is not a specific meal. It was a recurring meal for me. Growing up once we moved to Jackson when I was 8, both sets of my grandparents lived in Jackson. So we moved back to near grandparents. And every Sunday after church, we went to my granny's house for family meal.
Yeah, that's fun.
And Granny she made like 5 or 6, 7 different things that were on a rotational basis. But every single Sunday, she made chicken nuggets because you may not like what the thing was. And so Granny was famous for her chicken nuggets and
Like made chicken nuggets?
made
Like
chicken
she
nuggets,
made them.
hand breaded, sliced
Wow.
up the chicken, whole kit and caboodle, fried them in the oil, and that still is one of my favorite. And then once I was like in college, you'd still make time to try and get back. I remember when I took my first church and couldn't get back to Jackson for Sunday lunch. That was a big sacrifice because no more chicken nuggets for lunch every Sunday. But that was my lunch every Sunday for 10, 12, 14 years, whatever it
Oh,
was.
yeah, that's special.
So, and they were fantastic. So, Granny's chicken nuggets.
Yep. All right, my next one is gonna be our vision trip to Guatemala, fancy hotel, fancy restaurant.
All that meat. All that meat.
And it was this was prior to me getting sick. I got sick. That's the trip I got sick in. And but that meal, and the cool part is that, I mean, just the experience of that's really the first trip, I think, even the three of us. Of course, Tiger wasn't here yet, but the three of us really went on and kind of,
hung out.
done that together. And then, of course, Phyllis and Sharon there with us. But the meal itself was fantastic. Yeah. Probably one of the best. There's one more place that I've had better food in Guatemala, but just that experience of across the board, the food was incredible. This last trip we went to Guatemala, the church actually took us back to that place and we ate at the restaurant.
The other place, yeah.
So basically connected. So the food was the same. At least I remember it somewhat similar.
Yeah. I think it was better at the one you're talking about.
I think it was better at the hotel.
Same
yes.
basic idea, yeah.
But yeah, it was, but food was just really, really good. That's the night that Austin and I got a prom picture on the stairwell, and so it was just a lot of fun. We had a good time.
That night, the thing that stood out to me that night was the horchata of all things, not the meat. That horchata was, it was top tier.
Yeah, I don't like horchata that much, so it was okay. I'm not a big fan of the horchata,
but it was good.
But yeah, the meat was incredible.
That meat, it was good.
All right, top three. Third for me. It all kind of gets fuzzy. There's there's a pantheon of really, really good meals. So Ruth's Chris.
That's on my list.
So honestly, I can't even remember what we were celebrating. I had promised Ellie that if I can't remember if it was graduation or finishing her first year at UT or something like that. But it was before we moved down here. And I just kind of held that out as the carrot for if you accomplish this, I'll take everybody to Ruth's Chris, and we went. So the three of us go. This was I guess it had to be it was pre Evan. So we ended up going, and it was a great steak, and the meal was great, but it was just that she was really looking forward to it, and she had heard Dad talk about it, and she wanted to go. We do,
Was that here in Knoxville?
Yeah, it was the one down here.
The Knoxville Ruth's Chris is the largest Ruth's Chris they have.
Is it?
I did not know that.
I know that.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was ours.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got Ruth's Chris. I thought about putting that on mine. I didn't.
It's on mine for later.
Oh, okay. But we went on we had our honeymoon a year late after Eli was born, and so we went to Hawaii and did Ruth's Chris. And we didn't know. We also ate at TGI Fridays in Hawaii. We didn't know.
That breaks every rule.
But we were gifted the trip. We were poor as could be, but we were like, we're going to spend the money. And they gave us that shrimp appetizer and they just did it as our anniversary thing. That place, it's some good stuff. It's a good steak.
So my number 3 is kind of like your Sunday afternoon meals, but it's birthday meals. Specifically when Melody's grandmother was still alive. And she would do birthday meals for the month. So for the month of February, we were celebrating everybody's birthday and everybody would come together or whatever else. And it was always just a special time. She was a great cook, but it really wasn't about the food. She typically made the food that somebody would have liked from if it was I hate to say, like chicken spaghetti, or it was something like that was centered around one of somebody's favorite. But it was neat meals when you go back and look at that and think about that for the family, and then be able to kind of be brought into that family, and so it was always a sweet time. So yeah.
Number 3, I get into. I think everybody who listens probably knows, but my wife's an amazing cook, and so her food starts to top the list. So I think number 3 for me is the beef stew that she makes, and it's good. And so, but with that, she also frequently, and times I've been gone from home, she'll make that. Like if I've been on a mission trip, first night back home, she'll make beef stew for me.
It's like the comfort food to come home to.
Yeah, it's good stuff to come home to.
I think I already
She
know
did
what his
not.
number is.
I'm guessing I know
easily.
what
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But she did not. I specifically asked her not to make anything when I got home from India.
I didn't want to ruin it for the rest of his life.
Did not want.
You don't want a black mark on it.
I didn't want beef stew with white
ruin
rice.
it.
No. I said if you want to make some soup, that's fine. But
Broth, chicken broth.
Just give me an IV bag.
All right, 3.
3 for Jason.
All right, I'm gonna say, have y'all ever heard of sticky fingers?
Heard of it.
I've had it.
So sticky fingers.
spent some time in jail for it.
Sticky fingers is it's a steakhouse. It's a ribs place.
I'm just thinking of Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
A lot of sap.
But they
Kind of full.
A lot of sap.
They had a so I don't know. I don't even know if Sticky Fingers is around, to be perfectly honest. But it was a place we always went. We would take the students there when we went to the beach
I've been to literally. I have been to Sticky.
and then they also had one in Concord, just outside of where I live, where I grew up. And so we would go there for like special occasions. We'd do Sticky Fingers, but they had a meals. Their ribs were fantastic. Their ribs were awesome, and they had all these different flavors. Their wings were really good too, but they had a meal called it was basically ribs for two, and so you get 2 slabs of ribs for like $24. I mean, it's not bad at all. And then you get 4 sides, and so basically what you would do is you'd go in with someone else, or if you're Austin, just eat the whole thing by yourself. But I got to the point where I would always get it with the dry rub. Get all 4 slabs with the dry rub because you had all of the sauce. And then you literally could just do the sauce however you wanted it, and you could change the sauce up, and it's not all this like so you're basically just eating all kinds of different ribs. And it was always fun. Of course, you go with family, you'd split it with someone, but it was always fun for me when I would go with the students. You a lot of times you're taking on these student trips, you're taking students to a place like this that they've never been.
Right.
They don't know what it is, and so they're afraid to order something. And so I would always find a student, say, all right, you and I are going to do the ribs for 2. And then, they're kind of saying, how do you want to do this and whatever. And you'd kind of teach them a little bit of what to do there. And then we'd split a meal with, one of the students, and sometimes it'd be more than one. And then other students would hear you're doing that. And so then they would do that with other students. And so that's one of mine. Is always fun. I love the ribs are some of my favorite ribs ever.
Yeah.
I love their ribs, but just the way that always worked out when we would go there was always fun.
Very cool.
All right.
Number two for me. This is the only segment we're probably going to get through.
Probably.
That's what I figured.
We got a whole series of podcasts now laid out. Number 2 meal, 2018. It was the second time Ellie and the Dobbins Bennett Band had gone back to the Grand Nationals while she was there. They'd gone many times before, but this was our second trip, her sophomore year, to Grand Nationals in Indianapolis. And I'd made reservations. My sister went with us, and another friend of ours whose daughter was now in the band went with us. So it was Paige, Julie, and my sister Mimi. And we had made reservations at St. Elmo Steakhouse in Indianapolis. And it's just a classic, old...
You feel like you're in the mob.
It's a leather, it's like leather, wood finishes. It's pictures on the wall. You feel like it's one of these classic mob places in New York or Chicago or something like that. Anyway, we had steaks and we had they have a shrimp cocktail appetizer and everybody, we just ate our brains out. But it just that special place, it's a historic place there.
The
It's
shrimp cocktail is like half horseradish.
Oh,
I mean, like you take a bite of it and it's like
smoking. It's
I mean, like-
smoking.
Yeah, I mean, like anyway.
It is smoking. And it's one of Peyton Manning's favorites, when he was in Indianapolis. So, I mean, that was a special time. That was number 2.
All right, my number 2 is a little bit about the food and again about the experience of fish and chips in London. I mean, like it was. I can't even tell you.
Not 3 weeks ago though.
No, not 3 weeks ago. I couldn't tell you even what part of town we were in, but it was like we just popped into this pub and had fish and chips for
Was
dinner.
it on the newspaper like you'd see?
No,
on TV
it was
stuff?
it was a basket.
Okay.
So we were in this pub that had little booths all around, and the whole trip. So again, we were blessed to get to go on a Paris and London trip. The two boys, Caleb and Bennett and Melody and I, with my sister and her husband, and it was a incredible trip to get to go on. And then that was kind of like it wasn't the premier meal of the trip or whatever else, but it was just it's like that's what you think about when you experience London, or at least that's what I do now after that. Like if we had a few more hours in London, that's what we were going to do. We were just going to go out and go find somewhere to go eat and enjoy London a little bit or whatever else. But yeah, it was just one of those really, really good, memorable meals. And again, I couldn't even tell you where it was. Yeah.
Okay, so my second one comes with a story. We were Leah and I had a staycation. We lived in Southern Illinois. We had a staycation. Southern Illinois, you don't really recognize it, but it has wineries everywhere. And so we were on our staycation. Somebody had told us that there was a German winery that had a restaurant. And so we went searching for it. When we got there, it was not German. It was Swedish.
Swedish.
And so we sat down not knowing. We just went for it. And so Leah got like a filet with asparagus and a hollandaise sauce. And we got an appetizer of lobster bisque, and I got a fish au gratin. Just out of that's not my kind of thing as a normal rule. It was incredible. And so we began to go, all of our date nights when we were there or when we've gone back has always been back to Hedman's. It's not there anymore now. But they make a fish au gratin. And then Leah has figured out how to make it at home now, and it's still one of all of our family's favorite meals. But you can use haddock or cod, and then you put it in like one of those dishes you can put in the oven. I can't remember what they're called.
Pyrex, or
and then it's a sauce over it, and then mashed potatoes and a cracker thing and cheese galore and dill. Oh,
That sounds really good.
So good.
what's for dinner?
And we just found it on accident, thinking it was a German place, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 is more a series of meals than it is a meal, because
All the Taco Bells.
it was all connected. And this is whenever we went to Alaska.
Yeah.
And we were on a sailboat. So it was me and my dad, and then let's see, 4 other guys from our church at the time. And then, of course, on the boat, you've got the captain and his skipper or whatever. And so we're on the boat, and literally we are fishing. So we fished for halibut, we fished for salmon. We even had crab. We put pots of crab out and caught crab. And so we literally, every one of our meals, every dinner that is, was fish comes out of the water onto the deck, scale them. With the halibut, we're not scaling those, but we're just filleting them things right there in front of us. And literally that goes from that to the to the oven,
To the galley.
to the table, and we're eating it. I mean, almost within an hour of that thing being alive.
Wow.
And
On the boat?
On the
All
boat.
of this is happening. Were you staying
But-
on the boat?
yeah, we slept on the boat.
Oh, wow.
We showered on the boat. So everything. Now we would usually, I think I only remember him once filleting the fish on the boat. We would usually dock up at a dock at some point that night, and we'd get off so that he'd have level ground to fillet the fish, and then it was from there straight onto the boat. And then for lunch, he would take whatever he did for dinner, he then would turn that into something whatever we had left over from dinner, he would turn that into something for lunch.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I mean, it was absolute. I love fish. Fish is something that I miss being here. I don't feel like we get a lot of good fish here, but that fish and oh man, halibut is just an incredible flavored fish. It doesn't taste, I mean, at least what I had there in Alaska did not taste very fishy.
Yeah.
It was very fresh, very sweet almost, and just absolutely incredible. But,
Wow.
I mean, he made it in so many different ways. I mean, and then we would do salmon. He'd do it the same way. So we had like a halibut soup one time. We had a salmon soup one time. We had a crab soup. I mean, it was, oh man, absolutely incredible. But you talk about experience too, not just that fresh of food, the experience on the
whole
boat.
thing.
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
literally I can step out of the galley of the boat and I'm looking at the Alaskan landscape from the shores. I mean,
That's crazy.
yeah. It's pretty incredible.
That's cool.
So number one, and it comes down to this, and this is, I mean, if you know me, this is probably, you knew this was coming, but my number one is basically a tie between any meal my mom ever made and holiday meals with the family.
Yeah.
Because both, those are part of the same thing. My mom, Paige can tell you this, she can back me up, but mom was a legendary gourmet cook. I mean, she could make anything. She could make good comfort country food, and she could make the most ornate kind of extravagant kind of, frou-frou thing that you've ever seen, and all things in between. And so when mom was cooking, early on in our marriage, we'd go over and mom would just, cook something for the four of us, her and dad, and me and Paige. And it was anything from stir-fried chicken and walnuts to her fettuccine or grilled filet. I mean, it was just a broad spectrum. So, I mean, anything mom ever made is my favorite. And then our holidays, we have a unique family. I don't know if it's unique. I hope everybody's family could be like our family, but it's a larger family unit, and, cousins and things. And we love each other, and, we love the Lord, and we just get together and we have a good time, and lots of good people, lots of good cooks in the family. And so it's one of those things, most everybody has this, but you get together for your Christmas dinner, and so-and-so always brings this deal, so-and-so always brings this meal. And some of that's had to modify over the course of time because we've lost family members, but it's just fun to everybody get together and kind of, what you're going to eat, and you look forward to that. It's like, I can't wait to eat my sister's carrot souffle, which is, it's like candy. Anyway, good times. That's my number one.
So I excluded kind of those holiday, tried to, at least in my head with this one, but and this one maybe just because it's fresh, but Melody and I got to do Ruth's Chris actually this weekend, but it was unique because Caleb provided a gift card for us, and so just kind of a neat fun. We've done Ruth's Chris several different times, but it was our first anniversary meal that we went to, and that was in Nashville, and we've been to a couple of different ones, but it was just kind of a fun night. And then it was good. Like something different. We did the porterhouse. So it's actually a porterhouse 4-2 or whatever else. And I don't know that we've ever done that or whatever else. And it was a very nicely cooked, big old thick piece of steak. It was really, really good. And it was just kind of, we had a great night, and had a lot of fun. And then we did Cheesecake Factory for dessert or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to the point where I don't ever go there for a meal.
You just go get dessert.
Oh yeah, we take the gift cards and go get dessert, and we landed at a coffee shop and just ate it. So we took it away from there and landed at a coffee shop, and it was just a fun night, good meal. And
Very good.
So I said first year anniversary. This year's our 25th anniversary a few months ago, and so it was just kind of nice,
cool,
kind of a fun bookend and fun memories, and then to think that we didn't have to pay for all of it because so it was a fun memory, fun stuff.
Yeah, mine's no surprise.
Yep.
It's Christmas night beef Wellington.
Knew it.
Yep. Not just the best meal of the year, best meal of life. I think
We all look forward to you eating it.
I know.
That's how much
one of these
we need
days.
to all enjoy it. Sometime.
Yeah.
One of these days.
We'll pony up and help buy it if y'all pick it.
Yeah, I think I've maybe told that story. The first time Leah had the inkling to do beef Wellington, she sent me to the butcher shop, and I didn't know. I didn't know at all. She was like, "We're gonna try this," and I was like, "Game on! I'll go get it." And I went to the butcher shop, and of course he said, "Do you want choice or prime?" And I didn't know the difference between those two things, and I said, whatever. I don't even remember which one I chose. And then they said, that'll be $200. What?
For one meal.
For one, just the beef.
Just the meat,
Just
right?
the beef or whatever. But anyway, those, it is holiday, but the more and more in adulthood, I'm realizing just, when my kids don't always love it, but I really push for us to do dinner around the table as often as we can.
Mm-hmm.
So even like yesterday for lunch, Nora was like, "But we don't talk at lunch. We only talk at dinner." And it's like, but like, let's spend the time around the table, and my kids all love it too, and it's just part of our family tradition, and it's incredible. So yeah, beef Wellington, Christmas night, Leah.
So this is it's not going to be my number one, but I have to mention it. You know what Megan and I's first meal after we got married was?
Taco Bell.
McDonald's.
Oh my gosh!
It was on the way to Pigeon Forge. We were hungry because we didn't have a meal at our wedding.
Yeah,
we had
either.
ice cream bar, and neither one of us ate, and so we were starving. But it wasn't like a real meal time, and we both just were ready just to get up here and kind of get to where we were going, and and so we just. So we just stop at McDonald's. That was our first meal. So I don't think I'm recreating that as our anniversary meal.
That's
I don't
funny.
think so.
We've looked back on our. I laugh as much as we love food and travel for food and try unique.
It's really
things.
evolved over
It's
time.
really evolved because I
sure.
look back and I'm like when we went to Hawaii, I'm like, why did we eat at a
TGI
TGI?
Fridays.
Right. When we went to Chicago when we were dating one time, and we ate at Bubba Gump.
No.
And when we lived in southern Mississippi, it was a treat it literally was a treat for us to take a trip over to New Orleans to eat at Bubba Gump. All the gumbo in the world, and we ate at Bubba Gump. And
That's embarrassing.
it is embarrassing.
But it also is how much
I've
money,
outgrown it, Jason.
pour and
I've outgrown it.
I'm not going to take her on that on anniversary.
You're still.
I
You
still
got to go to
don't.
Drago's when you go to.
I only eat McDonald's now for the most part. Like when it's a necessity. I'm kind of tired of McDonald's. It's getting real. Now Taco Bell's a different story. So
All right,
my number one
Number one.
is going to be I had a really good friend, several really good friends in high school, and she was an African American, and she invited me to church one day, and they were going to have a meal after church.
At 3:30.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so number one, the experience of going to church with her, which I did multiple times, was awesome. I mean, just incredible experience going there, and but my goodness, the food afterwards was like I've been basically a Southern Baptist my entire life. I've done lots of
Potlucks.
covered dish and potluck meals. I never seen in my life anything in any churches that I've ever been a part of like what I experienced at that church. I mean, it was some of the best food I've ever had. I've had food there that I've never had since. I mean, it was just incredible food. But just the experience too, the hospitality and just loving on people there, numerous friends that went to that church as well. So just being able to go and experience life and faith and worship, and then incredible food in that experience was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think that like again, I mean, when you put all of our five out there, so much of them are about the experience.
Yeah,
Who they're with, what you're doing, what you're celebrating. I mean,
it is.
Food is good, but
Yeah.
There's a reason we're called to break bread together, and that's I mean that is part of the joy of that and experiencing life together.
Mm-hmm.
all right. So now we got 3 other podcasts to do at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we
Line
should
them
go
up.
ahead. We don't necessarily
the
need to do
chips-
top 5, but it is National Tortilla Chip Day.
Yeah.
So
Yes, right.
Just
How fast can we go through these?
I don't think you
just
do
do
top
like- you just
5.
need to do one.
You
Let's
like
just-
one.
So
Just do one.
I've got one that I think y'all have got too. So Chewy's, like to me, is one of those. Like I know it's a chain, but like their jalapeno,
That jalapeno
thing,
stuff, yeah.
I mean, like
hey, I can make that.
let's
Make it at home.
Melody,
I'll make
Never had Chewy's.
Oh,
What?
they've
Really?
got a like a jalapeno.
He doesn't
creamy
like
jalapeno
Mexican,
dip.
period.
Yeah, I don't like
Yeah,
Mexican.
he doesn't like Mexican.
Yeah, it's
but
really
he likes
not
Taco
Mexican.
Bell because
It's like
not
Tex-Mex. It's really not Mexican.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. Chewy's. It has to be on the list.
I'm gonna give mine to Kathy Courtwright's zucchini salsa.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's a good
Hey,
call.
Kathy.
Yes.
Yeah, hey,
yes.
Kathy.
I've
We
never
are
had
coming
it.
up on the
Hey,
spring.
when you make that,
I've never had it.
I'll
Kathy.
take
It's really good.
I'll take
really good.
18 jars. But that stuff it does not last very long. So it's she gives it to us usually like, in the spring or whatever, or summer, and it might last 4 days at my house.
Yeah, it's really good.
I don't let the kids know that it
That's a
exists.
good call.
It's just it hides at the back of the fridge for those couple days.
All right.
Yeah, but since I don't eat at many Mexican restaurants and stuff, so for me, I like Chili's chips and salsa.
It is good there.
Their
not
chips
bad.
and salsa, they got the thin chips,
thin
chips,
and,
yep.
and they're really salty.
Yeah.
You don't have to put
Salsaritas
more on there.
have really
Salsaritas
thin
is that way
chips.
too. Yep. But Chili's is one of my favorites.
Yeah. I'll quickly give you my 5 right quick. So just because
he's got to get it out.
because we're here and it is National Tortilla Chip Day, because we live here now and we eat here all the time, I'm going to throw a bone to Kiko's and just say Kiko's number 5.
I like their food, but
they
man,
take
chips
care
and
of
salsa
us.
Don't do anything for me.
Number 4 is Chewy's. Chewy's. I penciled it in. I had something else, but you're right. Chewy's is good. Now 3 is Poblano's, which is it is actually a restaurant back up in the Tri-Cities. There may be other Poblano's, but off the Boones Creek exit off of I-26, there's a Poblano's, and they have wonderful chips. They have great tableside guacamole too. Number 2 is Local Burrow. Local Burrow's got some
Still haven't
great.
eaten there.
Where is that?
It's
I'm not eating
In
there.
the mall,
in the mall.
right next to Cheesecake Factory.
There's several of them. There's one in Gatlinburg.
Okay.
There's one right next to Cheesecake Factory in Westtown. But Local Burrow, I always get that backwards, has a variety of chips and salsa, and it's really good. And number 1 for me is a place back in Kingsport called El Loco Taco, and it was guy started out as a food truck, and he went to got a brick and mortar. Just tremendous stuff he makes, and their chips and salsa is fantastic.
I give honorable mention to Moe's. As far as
Welcome to Moe's.
As far as like the salsaritas, Moe's,
Yeah.
Qdoba, all that. Moe's has some. They bring it with. I don't really like that kind of food that much, but they bring it with that salsa game.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
So we've been talking about where are we going to lunch now because I'm
Right, I'm hungry.
very hungry.
We need to
My
shore
stomach
that
has
up.
been grumbling.
Jason's
this whole
got a
time.
buzz.
Yeah, I'm going to lunch with some people.
We'll think something.
We're going somewhere.
All right, so we've got some other now segments lined up for you in the future for fun stuff. And again, this is one of those lighthearted things, but I think hopefully you can, even in the lighthearted stuff, you can see what we value.
And as Tiger always says, we would love to add
Yeah,
to the top 5 any meal that you would like to invite us over to.
Right.
absolutely. Yeah, you too could make my top 5 in a future episode. All right, this has been Seymour from the front pew, Seymour food from the front pew, I think is what we should call it.
I don't want to see your food.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. And let us know your ideas for future podcast episodes by sending us an email to the email you're about to hear. That's all. Say bye, fellas.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Seymour from the Front Pew. Our sole desire for this podcast is to glorify God by educating and encouraging His body. If you would like to learn more about anything you've heard today, feel free to reach out by email at staff@seymourfbc.org or by visiting our website at seymourfbc.org. If you're located near our community and do not have a church home, come worship with us at 10:15 a.m. on Sunday morning. Until then, we pray God's richest blessings on you and yours as you love God, love others, make disciples, and live the life.